we are here for the Sunday Race Club monthly final. We're in Colombia on the Paso Alto. There's the route displayed on the bottom of the screen. You can see it's pretty flat for the first half of the race, heading into a significant climb that's fairly steep, and then into a really long drag to the finish. So constantly going uphill for that final kind of 23 kilometers of the race. Now, a bit happened in the first half, but not that much. So I think I will skip to the climb, as pretty much almost everyone in Cat 1 was still together as we went into the climbing section of the race. Now, as we started the KOM, I knew this one would be somewhere around the 12-minute mark. Now, I think this climb has been used a few times this year in SRC races where I finished sixth both times, my best SRC results. But the finish line today wasn't at the top of this climb. We had a lot of riding still to go as we crested that climb in about 10 minutes time. So Noren from the Farm Watch squad, he actually made a really timely breakaway at the start, about 5K earlier, because he had done a race on the weekend and legs didn't feel good. So I was hoping that he might be given a bit of a buffer heading into the start of the climb. But we did catch him, I think, just up the road here. Now, the team's competition was an interesting one today. Being the monthly final, your top three riders count. So keep an eye on how that evolves as the race progresses. So we come past Noren here at the 23.1k mark. The power's very consistently around the 7 watts per kilo. For me, sitting in the draft, you can see Jason, the world champion, off the front there, kind of pushing the pace. And like usual on these kind of climbs, I am hoping that Jason, Vink, and Woo get away as soon as possible, so that the human riders can settle into their own pace. You can see my positioning here. I'm kind of towards the back of this group that are still in contention. Everyone else behind, there's already a few dropped off the back for sure. As I'm just holding onto these wheels as another rider or two are going to get distance, and you can see it's splitting up into a couple of different groups at this stage already, about 3.5 minutes into the climb or 4 minutes into the climb. So I'm just kind of hanging in the wheels. I'm around Panizza, Linden, and Stefan. And it's pretty much these guys that I spend most of the remainder of the race with. At this stage, I felt okay, but probably didn't quite have the legs to push up into that that group of the second tier climbers on the day. So I'm kind of settling in around here, just trying to stay in the wheels as much as possible and trying to survive. I know that this climb's going to go until probably about the 41-minute mark, so we've still got quite a bit of it to go. There are kicks up on the front here. Linden's always strong, so he's on the front pushing over 7 watts a kilo there. And I think at this stage, a couple of guys from the group ahead start to be distanced, and we start to make our way towards them. Now, with a group of guys here that are really strong riders and also tend to be really steady riders. So for me, I'm hopeful that the pace remains steady. I'm in control at this point, but like hurting in control, if that makes sense. So I'm not loving life, but I do feel like for the moment I'm comfortable-ish in this little group of four. I just noticed there that a little gap opens, so I have to push up to get back in there. But I managed to do so without too much stress. I can now see just up ahead, there's about 4 seconds to 2 riders. And I'm thinking that hopefully our sustained steady pace is going to get us up there. Now on the right hand side, you'll see I'm 283rd. Today I didn't click my category, just because this route, I thought that with the 5-minute head start that Category 2 have, we may find ourselves amongst some of the good Category 2 riders on the second climb, and so I thought it might be worthwhile to know where the riders from other categories are today, a bit more compared to usual. So we catch Lionel and Ski. So we are now a group of 6. I'm not actually sure what positions these are for, but I know in my head that it's not a bad position. I could see at the start of the climb that there really weren't that many riders ahead today. So I'm certainly thinking that the front of this group is probably a top 10 spot, but I'm just not exactly sure what spot that is until we get to the top of the hill in a couple of minutes' time where the leaderboard comes up. So again, I'm kind of hanging around the group, trying to draft as much as I can, whatever draft is available, if there is. I know there's a bit of draft available on Whoosh, but sometimes it feels like it's not that strong. As we're going into the final K of the climb, and it was about this point where I think it started to kind of get solid again. It's up around 440 watts for a bit, 470. The guys are kind of pushing on, and I know that this moment is pretty make or break for the rest of the race. If I got distanced here, I feel like my race could be over with that finish to come. But if I can just hang on this group, then it's almost my ticket to the finish line, given how draggy that last section is. So Ski goes there to try and catch the group ahead. Now, they're not actually that far ahead of us, and he gets very, very close. At this stage, I certainly wasn't willing to commit to that. I thought that safety in numbers was probably the right move. But he obviously had some good legs to try and get himself across to the group, which I think contained Ollie, Knudsen, Pucker, and Co. But we're heading to the top of the climb now. I'm glad it's over, but at the same time, I'm not feeling completely cooked, which is good. Turns out that was about 410 watts for 12 minutes. We really took it easy. The 4K section between the group behind caught us a lot, but no one really wanted to do the leading, and I think that was partly because of the team aspect that was unfolding. So we had in this group of 6 riders, 2 are just off the front at the moment doing some attacking, but there were 2 from Avis, there were 2 from Venga Boys, there was 1 from Alpha Jaw and 1 from Farm Watts. And I knew at this stage that we were looking good for a top 3 place today. Alpha Jaw came in a bit short compared to usual today. So I think that things were looking fairly good for us to potentially take that spot, especially with Lionel being here with us. I think Kaminsky's behind somewhere after a wedding or a party or something like that. So it was looking okay for us today to get a decent result. And then as we are kind of, Lyndon's chasing Lionel and Panizza here at this stage, it was looking like Abus probably had us, but it wasn't guaranteed. And so that's kind of why I rode this climb like I do. So Abus today had Stefan, Ski, and Woo. So my thoughts were that I'm with 2 of them. I know Bjorn is just behind us, so if Bjorn can catch us, then we're kind of neutral in that sense. So if Hayden's somewhere up ahead matching Woo, then which I'm not sure what's happening up there, then we could be a chance for second place, especially if we can finish strong. So that was my thinking there. We're now at the 39K mark, and things start to heat up a bit. Honestly, on this climb, it was very cat and mouse, attack, stop, attack, stop. But for the whole climb, I felt able to follow all the moves really easily. As you can see there, someone made a move and I covered it without too many issues. And again, another little move off the front and I'm able to kind of respond. I was able to respond today to all these moves. And I think I felt really, really good in the last 25 minutes. I'm not sure if everyone felt the same way. And and we're just kind of mucking around with each other with no real hope to get away. But I certainly felt able to cover all these moves. Interestingly enough, though, Panita actually broke clear of us early on in the climb, and no one followed him. So that kind of shows that our speed wasn't particularly high overall, given that a solo rider was able to just ride away from us, given that we were kind of very stop-start as a group of 4. At this stage, Lionel was just a little bit off the back with Bjorn. And so, again, I was pretty happy to not do the work today, just in case Bjorn was able to get back up to us to give us an extra leg up in the team standings here. So final 4K now, and it was at about this point where we're kind of close to the line, where I start to race the race, I guess you could say, and start to think about how I could position myself in the best way possible at the finish line. So Stefan makes a bit of a move here, 8 watts a kilo. And again, like I have been the whole climb, I'm really able to follow straight up into the wheels and kind of on top of it, which is good. And I noticed that we start to create a bit of a gap. And at this point, Stefan's in 9th and I'm in 10th. So there are 2 spots available in the top 10, which is obviously a bit of an incentive. So it's now that I go to the front and I do a bit of work to try and, see if we can get away. So I do a bit of work. Then Stefan comes back through to the front. There's a momentary pause though, and Lyndon, who's riding super strong as always, is able to keep that gap at a second. So he's almost on us now, but then I kind of give it another dig to try and see what happens there. I'm not feeling super confident that in a sprint that I'm going to get 10th spot, just because Stefan and Ski good finishers, saw in the MyWhoosh Championships many times some of those abilities there. So I'm kind of thinking at this point that 11th is probably the likely result from this group for me. So I was open to that move working, but it doesn't. And we head into the final K as a group of 4. So we'll play out the final K on 1 time speed, and we'll let it play out for itself. So you can see here, just kind of 4 across the road. Lyndon's at about 7 watts per kilo there. So I know at this stage in the final couple of minutes, need to make sure we're on Lyndon's wheel. Don't want him getting a gap to get a head start into the sprint finish. You can see also behind us that Bjorn is now at 17 seconds back. So he's had an awesome ride to basically pull at the front for the last like 20 plus K, and essentially be with us, who have been, been mucking around, but still averaged like 360 watts for this second climb. And I think overall for the last kind of 43, 44 minutes, it was about 6 watts a kilo normalized. So it was solid going. We're about to crest into the KOM banner here. That's a sign we have 500 meters to go. Now I can't see the finish line because I'm in view 8, but I'm just kind of looking at the distance markers. And the plan is to hopefully catch the guys a little bit off guard. And so it is now with probably 400 meters to go that I go up over 800 watts from a really big gear. We start getting on top of it, and I do immediately have a little bit of a gap, and I look down at the right hand side, and normally I'm expecting to see like guys with like 15 watts a kilo, but I have the gap and I am matching the watts per kilo of the guys that I'm with, so I'm gonna get the spot. There's the finish line there, so we come across the line, and it's a 9th place. So we'll definitely take that. There's the results popping up on the screen. Not surprised to see any of those guys up in the top 7. And yeah, it's a 9th for me. Results and data up on the screen there. So some pretty big numbers from the guys that you'd expect. Mine was a fairly crafty ninth, I'd say. Some like lower watts per kilo than some of the guys around. So sometimes you got to do that. Now, for me, that's like every SRC I've done since like April, I've been top 12 apart from one. Farmot Squad, we had a good day. We finished third. Not too far off second, really, today. So we'll take that for sure. But yeah, I think 15 or 16 SRCs, I've finished top, like between 6th and 12th every race except for one. So I've been consistent, often finishing around the 9th or 10th place, but can't complain with that. I was happy to come off the MyWhoosh champs and finish with the top 10. So feeling pretty good. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time.